Show for this Thursday morning. Nice to have you with us. Later on, after the 10 o'clock news this morning, we're going to learn about junior achievement and the Business Hall of Fame. At 11 o'clock, the HBA of the Great Lakes Bay region will talk about their parade of homes coming up. We might have time for open phones later this hour, but we're going to start out talking to a former Detroit Lion player. He played from 1982 to 1988 after playing for Grand Valley, I think, for a long time. He played for Grand Valley State, if I'm not mistaken. He's gone on to several broadcasting careers after the Lions. He was on the Detroit Sports Report, Fox Sports Detroit, and currently is a color commentator for Eastern Michigan University football. And he is Rob Rubrick. Rob, good morning to you.
Good morning, Art.
Thanks for joining us today. You're going to be at the Sawmill this weekend, Sunday, before the game, and hang around till about halftime.
At least.
At least till halftime, yeah. Particularly if they're winning, right?
Yeah, so, absolutely, which they should be, I hope.
Do you, out of curiosity, because you played in the 80s, do you keep in touch with any of the guys you played with?
Oh, absolutely. See, here's the deal, Art, is I've also run an off-season fundraising basketball team, which we've traveled around the state since I started running it in 86 when I played, and I've continued to run it where we do just like alumni now. And I've run that for 40 years. So for the first 25 to 30, it was all current players that came to Detroit until about 2010 when Bob Quinn was there as a general manager. Eric Hebron got hurt, a tight end down in Texas in a basketball game. So they nixed us playing with current players, which is stupid because we don't really play. We waddle up and down the floor, get kids in the game, lift them up and let them dunk. We don't run up and down the floor. My guys cannot get hurt, but now we just do alumni, which is fine. I have, Herman Moore and Corey Schlesinger play, and, local guy Brock Gutierrez out of Central Michigan. And so we have a bunch of guys, alumni in the area that still do that. So I've stayed in touch with a lot of guys through the generations, not just the guys that I played with, but guys that have done this. Yeah. Most of them in the off season, who lived in the Detroit metro area, would do this in the winter with us. We do 20 to 30 games, so made a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships. So yeah, I do have a lot of common ties and guys I keep really close friends with. Like Keith Dorney, Gary Danielson. We talk weekly. He's a national broadcaster for CBS. He was my quarterback. So yeah, I do have friends from that era, Art, and it's one of the best things about being in the NFL is the relationships you make.
Rob, let me ask you this. The game you played from 82 to 88, how different is the game they play today?
A lot different. It's easier now because they've gotten smarter. The owners have gotten smarter. The hardest thing about being in the NFL when I played my 7 years was training camp. It was brutal. It was who could last, attrition, who could make it through. It was so brutal, so physical. We'd go 2 practices a day for 4.5 to 5 weeks with full pads. I mean, I'm talking full pads, just like games, where now they don't hardly touch each other during training camp. They wait for the regular season, which is smarter. I mean, there's only so much tread on a tire, and we're wearing our tread off in camp. So, yeah, when the season started, when I play, we're all like, oh, nice. The season's easy. I mean, training camp was brutal. So it's changed that way. As far as the speed of the game, everyone thinks the game's gotten so much faster, but I look at my stats. My last year in the league, I was 261. I ran a 4.73 electronic time, and those numbers would stack up now with the tight ends that play. The difference is they don't wear pads hardly. Their shoulder pads are small. They wear these gloves that stick. You see them grab these one-hand grabs.
Yep.
Well, these gloves, you could put one on, and you could pick up a basketball, palm it just like that. Boom, pick it right up.
They're sticky.
I mean, they're that tacky. So it's changed in that sense, and the rules have enhance the offensive game because you can't jam receivers. You can't hit someone across the middle, and that was separated us back then, guys that could play in the league and that couldn't. Who'd run that 15-yard crossing route when you got guys like Ronnie Lott and Steve Atwater and, Dennis Smith, guys trying to take your head off? Where now they can't do that anymore. You get fined or kicked out of the game. It's So they've gotten smarter. They protected the players, which is the product. So in that way, it's changed immensely. It'd be so much easier for me to play now because of the mobility as a player. We had our big shoulder pads and all the pads we had on and stuff, and it was harder to turn. It was harder to move, and we had to use our bare hands. So yeah, it's changed in that sense. And with the cameras that they have now, everything looks so incredible because of the super slow-mo and stuff. If we had had those cameras, the game would look very similar. Overall, yeah, it's probably got faster by maybe 10% across the board. The offensive linemen are taller. They're not necessarily bigger. They're just tall. It's like the NBA. When you go to training camp, I mean, they're 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" guys now, the offensive tackle. So it has changed somewhat in that way, and it's become more of a passing game because of the rules.
Yeah.
Because the rules made it, well, if they can't jam you, if they can't hit you across the middle, let's throw the ball around.
Yes.
You can't hit a quarterback either.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's been around for a while.
No. Go look at Eric Hippel's highlight. Go look at Eric Hipple highlight hits when he played. I tell my young people that I know, they think a quarterback takes a shot. Now go watch what they did back then, and no one got fined. Most of them weren't even penalties. So the quarterback, you're right, for probably 20 years now, they've really tried to start protecting the franchise quarterbacks, which is smart.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. You played for Grand Valley State Lakers, so you didn't come out of a big Division I school. But today, with the money and the NIL and the portal, the money. I understand these players were making millions for these universities, and do they deserve a piece of the action? I think so, but I do not like the portal because the portal destroys loyalty.
I think you should have one move when you go to a college. You go to Michigan or Michigan State, wherever you go, you get one free move to transfer. Now, if your coach leaves you, you get a bonus move. So if you go somewhere, so if I go to a program and I say I go to Grand Valley because I like Scott Wooster as the head coach. All right, well, he takes a bigger job in the MAC the next year. I can leave. That doesn't count as my one move yet.
Right.
So if I go somewhere else for 2 years and it's not panning out, then I get one move. So you still give players opportunity to find the best place for them to play. But this 3, 4, 5 move thing in the portal every year, it's killing mid-major football. I do radio for Eastern.
Yeah.
And every year our 5 to 6 best players as Centrals, as Westerns, they leave. They take the money and run. Okay, that's fine. The problem we're finding is at Eastern, because universities are in a financial crunch right now. I mean, you look at the enrollment at Central has dropped, 30, 40% in the past 10 years, and same with Eastern and Western. The universities are allowed to give $20 million for football money now. Oh, Eastern doesn't have $20 million. They don't have $20,000 to give for the university. They're on a tight budget, so we don't get to go replace our players. So the quality, it's tough. It's tough on the coaches to come in there and succeed.
Yeah. Rob, hang on. I'm going to take a break, and we'll come back. We're talking to Rob Rubrick. He is going to be this Sunday at the Sawmill, where they will be showing the Lions game, and we'll talk more about it when we return after these notes. But here is the information on the Sawmill.
Hey, Lions fans, just a reminder.
All right, we're back with you here on WSGW. We're talking to Rob Rubrick, who played for the Detroit Lions from 1982 to 1988, and was at Grand Valley State before that, playing football. And Rob, I have to ask, at what point in your college career at Grand Valley did you say to yourself, I got a shot at the NHL? At the NFL?
Or the NFL, yeah. That's a great question, because people don't realize I walked on. I was not recruited. I was recruited a little bit by Saginaw when Muddy Waters was there, but he misspoke. He told me he's going to give me a scholarship, and then he said, well, I can get you financial aid, which upset my dad because my dad was a man of character, and he said, you told him a scholarship. He said, well, I meant I could get him money through financial aid. My dad said, well, I can get that anywhere. He had 2 other kids in college besides me and 6 kids. So anyways, make a long story short is when I went to a visit Grand Valley, and Jim Harkin was the head coach, and he said I could be a preferred walk-on. He said I was small, I wasn't very fast, and I didn't look very strong.
Oh, all the attributes.
Yeah, but he said, he goes, but you look like you're pretty athletic and you're young. So I was 17, coming out of high school. So it was a great move, and I had a great career there. But by my sophomore year, I was making leaps and bounds between my freshman and sophomore year because I was only about 185 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And I got to about 200, 205. And between my sophomore year and freshman year in spring ball, I had really good. I was starting to get faster and stronger and bigger. And I could always catch and get open. And the rest of the game was coming with me. Then after my sophomore year, I can remember that my quarterback came up to me. And he told me, he goes, Coach Harkema told me, he says that as much as you're improving, the rate you're getting better, he thinks by the time you leave here, you have a chance to play in the NFL. And this is my head coach. So then going into my junior year, I started to get a little bit full of myself, and I started out pretty poorly. I started out pretty poorly for the first game or two, and Coach Harkema brought me in his office, and he goes, it looks like you heard that I said that if you keep improving, you could play in the NFL. I said, well, yeah, maybe Dave told me that. He goes, well, here's the deal. If you don't start playing better and working harder, you're not going to start here, and there's not a lot of backup Grand Valley tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah.
So he pretty much put a fire under me, and I reassessed and reevaluated my goals, and I got back at it and kind of then finished strong my junior year and had a really good senior year. And by then, every scout going into my senior, I thought I would get into an NFL camp because I had almost every team came through, talked to me, and worked me out and stuff like this. But what hurt me was my last game. We were playing Ferris State, and right before half, and I was having a great half. The last game of the year, I had 6 catches already. And I blew my knee.
Oh.
And back then, blowing your knee was a big deal. I mean, I was in a full-length cast for 6 weeks, and then the team started coming by like in November and December, and they see me in a cast, and they said, well, we'll come back in the spring. Well, no one came back. And I was projected to be a 4th or 5th round pick is what I was being told. Well, when I blew my knee, see, the NFL back then, the scouts would look at you, and it was a 3-strike, you're out system. If you had no strikes, that was great. My strikes where I was at a small school was strike 1. I was a little bit undersized at the time. I was getting bigger, but I was still undersized, so that was strike 2. And strike 3 was I blew my knee in my last game in my senior year. So no one came back, except for the Lions worked me out right before the draft, and I did okay. And then it's a whole nother long story. We don't have time. But basically, I was going to go to Seattle as a free agent. The Lions got wind of this the last hour of the draft, called me up, and they ended up picking me because they thought I was going to go to Seattle as a free agent because I had my teammate was there at the time starting for them at tackle, Ron Essink, who was a Laker as well. And so they drafted me, and 7 years later, they got rid of me. But it was a great 7 years.
Well, yeah, because, you were drafted in the 12th round.
Right, but like
normally,
you know what?
12th rounders don't last 7 years with the same team most of the time.
No, they don't. Well, Art, to tell you they didn't think I was going to stay, my number in camp was 92. Now, how many 90 tight ends do you see in the NFL? Not many.
Yeah.
Then I got to be 84, and but yeah, they drafted me just because they liked me enough before I got hurt. And, they didn't know how I was going to heal, but I ended up healing well. So I always tell people I was a 12B, actually. We had 2 picks in the 12th round, and I was the 2nd pick in the 12th round. I was about 6 from the end of the draft. But I'd like to think I was a 5th-round talent coming out. I was coming off an injury, so that devalued my status. Yeah. So even though it sounds better, makes a sexier story that I was a 12th-round pick, I was rated about the 5th or 6th tight end in the country coming out. So, it was a little bit different.
But, 7 years with the same team and in tight end position, you had to be doing something right.
Yeah, that's great. So you're bringing good questions. I had a coach named Lou Carpenter he played in the league. He was an old guy, smoked about a half pack of cigarettes during one practice, hobbled around, had a bad hip. And I can remember going into my 7th season, we used to practice right up top of the Silverdome. We had a field up top, and I was walking out of the tunnel up top, and I saw Louis. And I said, "Hey, Coach," I fooled him again because it was our first practice. They just made the last cuts in the locker room before practice on a Monday of the game. So they made the last cuts. I made it again. And I said, "Louis," I said, "I made it again, Coach. I fooled you guys." He goes, "How many years is this for you?" I said, "Well, this is my 7th, Coach." He goes, "Well, here's the deal. We're not real bright. You might fool us for 1." And he said, "Sometimes you could even trick us for 2, maybe." He said, "If you're playing 7," he goes, "you're okay." So, that was a good compliment coming from an old war horse like Lou, that he said that, he made my, kind of validated what I had thought. Yeah, I saw a lot of tight ends come through over the years, probably 30, 40 tight ends, either in training camps or they'd signed during the season. And I was never a really good NFL player, Art, but I was always average. And average is not bad. People got to understand that when you got 22 guys on the field playing offense and defense, roughly, give or take, you have other ones too. There's only 4 or 5 of those guys that need to win the game for you. The other 16, 17, 18, whatever, just don't lose the game. In other words, if they throw you the ball, you catch it. You don't get a holding penalty. You don't jump off sides. And you fight and grind and block your guy the best you can. And if you got a bunch of guys doing their job like that, the 4 or 5, your Billy Sims, your Barry Sanders, Kelvin Johnson, Herman Moores, Amon-Ra, they will win the game somewhere along the line. There's a, what I'm saying? Maybe your safety with Brian Branch or Kirby Joe making a pick or Hutch making a play. That's their job. That's why they make a lot more money than 90% of their teammates, because their teammates' job is you don't have to win the game, but boy, don't lose the game. Just work. Just do your job.
Yeah. Back then, there wasn't a lot of attention paid to concussion protocol, and a lot of guys came out of the league with problems.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know when it was time to leave? Did your body tell you?
Yeah, my body told me it wasn't the concussions, even though I would have had to retire after the 3rd year because I ended up having, I think, 9 total.
Ooh.
But mine, it's weird. All concussions are different because I never got the headaches. I never got nausea. What I got on every single one was about 48 hours of memory loss. So I would get dinged in the game, and I would come out in the tunnel, and my parents would be there, and I'd say, "Hey, Mom, Dad, what are you doing?" They said, "Well, we've been at your apartment for 2 days." Well, I didn't remember it. So mine was memory loss. But I never got, like a lot of guys I know get the headaches and stuff, never got them, and I never got the nausea. But mine were definitely concussions because I would lose about 2 days of my life every time. I would not remember. But it was the rest of my body. I've had 2 knee replacements now. I've had 13 total surgeries. A few when I played. I had a laminectomy when I played, back surgery. I've had shoulder surgery. So I've had a lot of surgeries. It's a very physical, violent game, but I would do it again in a heartbeat because I met some wonderful people. Financially, we didn't make the money like they make now. I mean, I made more as a teaching by the time I did my first 3 or 4 years in the NFL. But it helped me set myself up, my wife, for life. So I still had a job. I taught for 30 years. I broadcasted for 35 years. And we're financially, we're very comfortable with that. But I worked. I got done playing. Some guys, they sat around for a couple of years trying to figure out what they wanted to do. I started teaching right away.
Are you?
I knew it. Yeah, my body was done.
Because you have a master's in phys ed.
I have 2 masters, right?
You have 2 masters. Wow.
Oh yes, I'm an overeducated, underpaid teacher. I was. I retired about 3 years ago, but it was a great way to make a living. I truly loved it.
Are you still doing EMU broadcasting?
I still do quite a bit. I do on Fridays now. I'm doing a thing for State Champs as a show. It's been on for years. They do high school show every week, highlights of football and different other sports. But they started a show called The Score. And The Score is on Friday night. And we're like the NFL Red Zone, where we'll cover 12 different games. I'll sit with a guy named Ryan Slocum, I think he's a TV 12 guy out of Flint, Ryan. Mm-hmm. So him and I co-host this. And we go from game to game when they get into the red zone or, scoring drive, and we'll go watch 2-3 plays of the Heritage in Lapeer, or then we'll maybe go to see Mount Pleasant and Traverse City, whoever. We have 12 different games that we hop around each Friday night. So I do that on Friday nights. And then on Saturday, I do Eastern Michigan. I'm shuffling off to Buffalo this week. And then Sunday, for home games, I do a thing called Chalk Talk at Ford Field, where I host it in the Bud Light Zone. It's up on the second level concourse. We have a lot of people from Saginaw, Pinconning, Gladwin come. I got some local people that come every week, and some loyals. And I host that. I bring in an alumni. And so, like last week, I had Jeff Hardings, former great guard for the Lions, 5 years and 6 years with the Steelers, won the Super Bowl with the Steelers, 2-time Pro Bowler. I've had, Jason Hanson comes in, Tony Sheff. I've had Jeff Backus, all different guys from different eras. I'll bring an alumni, and we talk about the previous game, and then we'll talk about today's game. So at all home games, I do that.
That's
and then, I stay busy on the weekends.
I have to tell you, listening to that, you're a 12th round pick. You end up 7 seasons with the same team, never traded. And here you are today, decades later, still associated with that same team. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. Yeah, it is.
Pretty cool.
Hang on a minute. Let me take another break. Okay. We'll come back and talk
I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting up looking at a beautiful lake. So do your breaks. I'll be here.
All right. Rob Rubrick, he's going to be in town this Sunday starting at 3:30 at the Sawmill, and you'll be able to not only talk to him, but watch the game as the Lions continue, hopefully, their winning streak. And we will be back in just a couple of moments. Let me take a moment to talk about Quick Lane Freeland at McDonald Ford. We live in Michigan. You know what that means, folks. Winter can't be far away. Here we are in October already. And snow and ice bring driving challenges, but challenges that you can prepare for by having the right winter tires on your car. And there is a difference. Winter tires are different. Here's John from Quick Lane to tell you all about it.
Hello, Art. Yes, winter tires are made with a pliable rubber compound that includes silica to stay flexible and maintain grip in freezing temperatures. Unlike harder all-season tires, which stiffen and lose traction in the cold, this flexible compound allows the tire to better conform to the road surface, providing superior grip and traction on snow and ice to keep you safe.
Thanks, John. Stop into Quick Lane Freeland today, have your tires checked, and while you're there, also have your cooling system checked to see if it's ready for the cold weather ahead. And also, while you're there, walk over to the McDonald lot, take a look at all the new Fords they have for you, and take a look at their pre-owned vehicles for any budget. Quick Lane and McDonald Ford, and remember, you can buy your winter tires or any tire at just $5 over cost at Quick Lane Freeland.
It's natural to have questions.
Conducted in 1991. So it's not that your career went unnoticed, for sure.
Yeah, that was really an honor getting into the Hall of Fame. There was early on in the inception of the Hall of Fame at Grand Valley State, and I went in with a teammate of mine, Ron Essing, so it was pretty neat. Well, I didn't know. In college, I was pretty good at Grand Valley. Don't get me wrong. I'm not being that humble. I mean, college was fun because I was better than everyone else. But the pros, you get up there and you're like, oh, these guys are all really good. So, yeah, you don't stand out once you get there. It's more of a survival of the fittest. But at Grand Valley, it was a blast. I mean, my senior year was so much fun. We had a very good team. People forget my roommate, my senior year, he was a junior, ended up playing 10 years in the NFL. His name's Jeff Chadwick.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeff played 10 years. He played 6 in Detroit, 2 in Seattle, and 2 for the Rams. And, that's not bad. Between a couple of roommates at Grand Valley, we got 17 years in the league between us. And always very proud of Jeff, what he accomplished. People talk about Aiden Hutchinson because he's from Divine Child. Well, I played with 2 guys, Gary Danielson and Jeff Chadwick, were both Dearborn Divine Child grads. So, I was I was a very mediocre, average guy that in the NFL. But that's, I always tell my kids, the average in the NFL, you're still okay.
No doubt about that.
Right.
So, when you look at your career, you were a walk-on at Grand Valley. If you could go back and do it all over again, would you have set your sights on maybe a Class 1 school?
Well, you mean working with the same variables, with the same body and everything that I had, Art? Here's a great story. I met Bo Schembechler about my second or third year with the Lions. I went over with a teammate named Rich Stringer, who was an offensive tackle, who played at Michigan. And he goes, hey, we're at a coach's clinic. He goes, you want to go meet Bo? He was up sitting in the Chrysler Arena with John Robinson, the former USC coach and Tampa Bay coach. I go, yeah, I'd love to meet Coach Schembechler. So Rich introduced me to Bo, and I talked to him for a bit, and Bo goes, "So you're from Michigan, from the state?" I said, "Yeah, I'm from the UP." He goes, "How come you didn't come to Michigan?" And I said, "Coach, I was 6'2", 180. I ran a 5'140" handheld, and I benched 170 pounds. He goes, "Good reasons." So I did not fit a D1 box. I didn't really fit a D2 box. When I say a box, you look at body types, like Jake Long's the Lapeer kid who I had in high school. Well, Jake was 6'7", 290 in high school and was the best baseball, basketball, and football player. Well, he fits Division I box. You know what I'm saying? That's a body that's ready to go. My body was not a Division I or even a Division II. So I went to really went probably higher than I should have. I probably should have set my sights on like Elma or Olivet or somewhere, but I was a late bloomer physically. And by the time I left, I was about 230 from 180s. I put on 50 pounds over my 4 years. And I kept putting on weight because when I finished the NFL, I was 260. So I put on good weight over a long period of time. And I just, being about 6'4", because I was late. Like I said, I was 17. So I went from being 6'2" to 6'4", and I put on 50 pounds.
Well, by the
time I got to the lake.
When you got to the lake, when you got to Grand Valley, was it your intention to be a walk-on, or was it a whim?
No, actually, my uncle was great uncle was the head basketball coach at Grand Valley, named Tom Vilmer, who was a legendary coach, Hall of Fame there. He probably coached 25, 30 years at Grand Valley back in the 70s, 80s, even in the early 90s, I think. And he kind of offered me, because I was a good high school basketball player in the UP, but he offered me a partial scholarship to go there and play basketball. Well, I went down there in the summertime, and his team was doing summer workouts. I practiced with him one day. Well, Mark Cheklich was 6'10". Their forwards were 6'8". And I played in the post up in the UP at 6'2". And I said, "Uncle Tom," I said, "I can't play here." He goes, "I see that." I couldn't play with his kids. So I ended up meeting the football coach, and I ended up walking on. I still liked the school, and I wanted to go there. And Coach Harkin was very honest with me, and so I walked on to play football. But no, when I went, I went to my first practice because they'd already been in camp for like 3 weeks, because the walk-ons don't start like in early August. I went in like September. And I'm looking at these guys thinking, these are full-grown men. I mean, I was an 18-year-old boy. I was tiny. And I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, I don't want to be on the field. These guys are – it was such a jump for me from Newberry in the UP, a Class C high school back then, to Grand Valley was – you can't believe it. From Grand Valley to the line was nearly as intimidating as it was from high school to college for me.
Yeah.
Because I had equal, I was going to a gunfight with a gun. And when I went to the NFL, I was 230. I could run. I got used to know guys were big and strong too, bigger and stronger, but not that much. Where I came from high school, I'm like, oh my gosh, these were men. That was a huge adjustment.
Let me stretch you out for one more segment, and then we'll come back and finish up. We're talking to Rob Rubrick. He's going to be at the Sawmill beginning at 3:30 on Sunday to watch the Lions game with you and chat with you, sign autographs or whatever. So plan on attending and meeting Rob Rubrick, Detroit Lion from 1982 to 1988. We'll be right back with him after these notes.
Gotta go.
Show for this Thursday morning, talking to Rob Rubrick. Again, he's going to be at the Sawmill beginning at 3:30 on Sunday, and happy to chat with you. And this former Lion will be watching the Detroit Lions hopefully go for their fourth victory of the year. As you look at the Lions team, Rob, what are you seeing in the way of positive things?
Well, I mean, they just have a lot of dudes, Art. I mean, teams win. I said you need a bunch of guys that are just, like I said, that can get their job done, and you need different guys that can change the outcome of the game sometime during that point of any game. And they have a lot of those guys. I mean, you look on the offensive side, from Sam Laporte at tight end. They got two great tackles, Decker and Nasu. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is just as good of a receiver as you find in that leg, and Jameson Williams, who can take the top off of defense. You got two running backs with Montgomery and Gibbs that are just super good. And Jared Goff, when you can keep him vertical, he's as good as there is out there.
Yep.
So you have weapons. I mean, those are a lot of dudes. I mean, that's not – some offenses only have two or three, where they have 6, 7 guys, and their defense – you name some guys there, Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph at safeties and Hutch at a defensive end. And this Jack Campbell, the young man from Iowa, is just starting to really blossom, and he's going to be just a stud inside linebacker. So they have talent, and that's when they lost to Green Bay the opening